Welcome to this Advanced Performance podcast, unlocking people's potential worldwide. In today's podcast, we will briefly be discussing the 5 areas of leadership. I'm John Bullock, and joining me is Heather Wright. So Heather, tell us about the first stage of leadership.
It's funny when people ask me that, John, because the first stage of leadership has nothing to do with other people at all. The first stage of leadership is personal performance, looking in the mirror and getting yourself sorted out.
So you say sorted out. What does that mean? What do you mean by sorted out?
We're talking about understanding your own behaviours, being able to change them slightly. And I don't mean pretend, I don't mean acting. What I'm talking about is understanding yourself, having high self-esteem, not arrogance, high self-esteem. Because in order for people to be inspired by you, you have to be inspiring. And again, by inspiring, I don't mean standing in front of an audience like Russell Crowe in Gladiator delivering a rah-rah speech. I'm talking about your own personal goals and dreams and striving for excellence. And if you're not doing that, how can other people be doing that with you? So you can't lead other people unless you really understand yourself first.
Fantastic. So actually then, the first stage of leadership is personal performance.
That's right. So why don't you take us through stage 2?
Okay, well, stage 2 is about personal leadership. And personal leadership is about finding your voice as a leader. It's about your leadership style, the type of leader that you want to be.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, what type of leader do you want to be? Do you want to be somebody that motivates people? Do you want people to follow you? Because ultimately, the definition of being a leader is that people will follow.
Okay.
And to get people to follow, it's about influencing. Great leaders are great influencers. So how can you describe the vision and the values of yourself and the organisation potentially?
What do you mean by values?
Values, I mean, what drives you? What is it about you? What's the French would say your raison d'etre, your core. What is it that you stand for, and how do you work, and how does that show through in your leadership style? And again, for me, it comes back to, can you describe the vision? Can you take people on that journey with you? Can you get people to also enjoy and love that journey? How do you influence and do that? So for me, that's what personal leadership is.
So you'd summarise all of that about leadership is about that influence.
Absolutely. Personal leadership is all about influence.
Okay.
So this moves us on to stage number 3. Heather, tell us about stage 3.
Well, stage 3 is when you suddenly have people in your team. So we've spent 2 stages focusing on ourselves, getting our goals and dreams sorted out, understanding our personal values and what we are as a leader. So what will you do on day 1, moment 1, when imagine you have a new team. So you've stepped in the door. What do you do on that day, apart from you found out where the coffee machine is? So the first thing we have to do is build relationships with our team.
Okay, and so why is that important? Why is it important to build relationships as a leader?
People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. People want you to know them. So how can you motivate people until you actually know them? There's no point in motivating them with the stuff that motivates you, because everybody's different. So we have to get to know them. Build loyalty, build trust. We have to have the team functioning together. So stage 1 of this part is building relationships. After that, we've got to set standards. Because it's really important. Sometimes we're so busy being soft and fluffy as a leader, we forget to say, this is what I expect from you. And, by the way, this is what you can expect from me. And we can have a 2-way conversation about that point.
So this is about getting to know them individually then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Get to know them individually, then set the standards. They also have to get to know you. So it might be a bit about giving of yourself. They get to know you, you get to know them. Then we set the standards and the expectations. We can also talk about accountabilities and responsibilities if we like. Then we need to start unlocking their potential. So unless we actually know who they are, how can we unlock their potential? We have to know what they want. Not everyone wants to be chief exec. Not everyone wants to be rich and powerful. Some people just want to be really, really good at what they do. So we have to unlock their potential and give them those opportunities.
Okay, so what happens if they don't perform?
It's a good question. People often struggle with that. Actually, people are either really good at building relationships or they're really good at correcting. But it's important to be able to do both. So if at the beginning we've built a really good relationship and we've unlocked their potential and we've set standards, and also we've rewarded really good behaviour, that gives us permission to correct really quickly. As soon as they start underperforming, we take them into our office and we start to have a really casual conversation. We can refer back to the standards we set. We can refer back to the things we know about them motivationally. We don't have to hit them with a big stick at this stage. We're just gently starting to correct. Because if we don't deal with correcting behaviour, then of course what we don't deal with ends up being condoned. So correction comes in there after we've built the relationship. Many people are scared of building relationships because they're frightened that they won't be able to correct. But actually building relationships gives us permission to correct.
Right, I see. So if we were to sum all of that together, some really great points there. Stage number 3 is about leading the individuals.
Yes, very much. So by my count of our 5 stages, we've done 3. So what's number 4?
So number 4, it leads perfectly, as you should imagine it would, from stage number 3. You just talked about leading individuals. The next phase of doing that for a leader is leading the team. So it's about taking those individuals and putting them together as a team, understanding what the team dynamics are, how they're going to work well together, how each member of the team are going to complement each other.
Oh, by compliment, you mean say nice things to each other?
Well, that would be a good start. Compliment can mean a couple of different things, to be honest. Yes, it would be great if you've got people that like each other in the team, then it would be nice to get a compliment every now and then, wouldn't it? Of course it would.
Yeah.
But also what I mean by compliment is actually what's maybe one person's got a strength in a development area that another person's strength could complement the development area and vice versa. So it's about taking those points and putting it together. And to do that, it's about the individuals and you leading them, trying to build those relationships with each other now. So trying to trust each other.
So are you saying that if you've got a perfect team, there'll be no conflict then?
Well, there is I do believe there's such thing as a perfect team. Maybe not a perfect person, but certainly a perfect team. And it'd be great if we've got trust and respect. But the point that you're making is, if we've got a perfect team, will we have conflict? And I think my answer to that is absolutely yes. We will have conflict on the basis that conflict is bound to happen because we're different types of people. The difference between a perfect team, a great team, and a not so great team would be that if you've got conflict, it's handled in the right way. So if you and I, Heather, have got a trust relationship, we're able to talk to each other and maybe give a bit of feedback without taking it personally, for instance, or getting the ump, if you like, and walking away. We're able to take it on board and go, actually, yeah, fair comment, I can learn from that. And that's the key thing for me. It's about taking learning opportunities from that conflict.
So it's not about not having conflict, but it's about making sure the conflict helps us to grow and develop.
Absolutely.
So we don't stagnate.
100%.
Okay.
And if you've got a team of people that trust each other, that respect each other, that are bought into the same vision, but it's being led by you, remember, as the leader, because it's the leader's job to make this happen, then that's where you're going to get a team. So for me, stage number 4 is about leading teams.
Okay. So by my calculation, we're in our fifth area at this point, aren't we? And the 5th area is leading organisations. Now, this is an enormous subject and could be covered. We could do lots of stuff under here. But the main areas we would kind of deal with at this point would be communication. Communication, absolutely vital in an organisation, whether it's covert or overt, whether it's emails, whether it's meetings. And many of the organisations we work with who are successful at this have a huge variety of different styles of communication. They might have what they call town halls or balcony briefings on a regular basis where the boss gets up and delivers. So presentation skills actually comes into an area here as well, whether you're presenting to 2 people or whether you're presenting to several thousand, depending on the size of your organisation. Creativity and innovation comes in here as well. We've got to have creative thinkers. And in actual fact, a lot of people think you're naturally born with it, but it can be taught. So creativity and innovation, looking ahead at what the next product's going to be and how we're going to handle it, future-proofing ourselves, if you like. Okay, strategic thinking is important. But one of the other areas, and I know this is a bit of a pet area for you, John, it's a real love for you, is the change and transition area.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know that I do a lot of work on change and transition, and for me, it's a key milestone in an organisation because, let's face it, change doesn't just happen once and you carry on.
Yeah.
Change is a regular thing that happens, and it does amaze me, actually, because you have people that say, I love change. People only love change if they love the change. And when I say about people, if an organisation has a change, it's the people that have to go through the transition. And the key thing is, as leaders, it is imperative that you are geared up to get your people through that transition, through those different stages of transition. And just like this section, transition could be its own podcast, Heather. But it's important that as a leader, it's imperative with communication and creative thinking, all the stuff you've mentioned, that you get people through the stages of transition as quickly as possible in the best possible way. How can you make it less painful for people to get through transition? Because once your people are through it, they will be more productive again.
presumably, the reason we put this as stage 5 is because that will be easier if we've completed the first 4 areas.
100%. If we've got people to sort themselves out in the word, which is personal performance, and then we've got them to lead the individuals are making the team, and you're leading the team, the organisation is the final bit, if that makes sense.
Okay.
If we've followed that journey, you're in a better place to be able to do that.
Excellent. So all of the areas of leadership, whenever you read, I mean, there are millions of books out there about leadership.
Yes.
They'll all come somewhere in those 5 stages, won't they?
Yes, they will. So thank you for listening to this Advanced Performance podcast. It's goodbye from me and Heather.
Goodbye. And have a great day.